everyone, and welcome back to Fireword Sparkler. If you're new to my channel, I'm Nirali, and I talk about crafting, writing, music, and all sorts of other things on this channel. And today is a pretty crafty video. So a year ago, I tried making a video like this, where I discussed the things I made in that year, and that ended in like a mental breakdown. Or at least me feeling like very paralyzed by the fact that I wasn't creative enough and super guilty and just like all the not fun feelings. So this year I am so ridiculously proud of myself because I made such a massive effort to be more creative this year, and it actually happened. So yeah, this is a video about all the things I made this year. If you've been around for a while, you will know that I have a sewing machine. I love it so much, but I was very, very intimidated by it for a long time. And this year I actually decided to do something about that feeling of intimidation. I've used it a few times since that video a few years ago, but I really wanted to like be able to feel confident using a pattern and making things. And so I decided to take a couple classes, and the first class I took was over the summer, and it was making these matchy sewing club shorts, and I lived in them. I swear to God, I lived in them over the summer after I made them, and they are so comfortable. I'm really glad I took the class because it was more difficult of a pattern. Like, I definitely would not have been able to make it as well without the class. But it just also just made me so much more confident as a maker of things. The fact that I was able to do a pretty complex pattern for such a beginner really made me feel confident, and it made me excited about sewing and making things. And that's really what kind of the theme of this year has been for me, has been just like getting excited about doing things and being creative without feeling intimidated by that. I really want to credit the store Lakes Makery here in the Twin Cities for having these amazing classes where I was able to really sit and learn and take my time, but also like understand what a decent pace for sewing is. It was kind of a place where I could like get out of my brain a little bit because I saw other people making things, and you know, having ADHD, it's always nice to make things when other people are also making things with that body doubling thing. So I did end up being the last person in my class to finish these shorts, but part of it was because on the first week of the class, I fell really behind because my sewing machine wouldn't work. There was something to do with the electric. When I plugged it in, it wouldn't go. Something kept going wrong, so I had to like borrow the store's machine to start making it, but it took like a solid half hour. And then like thinking back on it, even though I was the last person to finish making it, it was that half hour difference of like, okay, I actually am at the same level as these people who seem more experienced than I am and have done more classes and done more things. Like, okay, I can do this. I'm pretty good at this. So the next one I want to talk about is also coming from a class that I just finished a few weeks ago, and I'm so excited about it. I got to sew a sweatshirt, and it's so cozy. I think this pattern is Merchant and Mills, but I will correct myself here if it's not Merchant and Mills. And it's just, again, another one I'm living in. It's a really nice boxy sweatshirt. Like most of my sweatshirts are like this, where it's like kind of tight fitted, like not uncomfortably so, but a little bit tight. And it's really nice to have something that like feels like a bit of a blanket. It also feels well made, and it feels so nice to like be in something that I made and be able to just like, it's kind of this like dream I had when I was younger, I guess, where I really wanted to have a wardrobe that I made myself, and this year is the first time I've actually like made progress in that. A few years ago I made that like ivy blouse thing off of a pattern, and that was really great, but that was great for a costume, and it didn't feel finished. I didn't have the skills yet to finish a garment in the same way, and I feel like if I went back to that pattern now, I would actually be able to follow the instructions and create a lining for it so it's more wearable. So I am so excited about that. And this sweatshirt is another one I feel like I'm gonna live in this winter. It's so, so comfortable, and it's already like one of my favorite sweatshirts. The one thing that I am struggling with that sweater is that I keep putting it on backwards, and the only way for me to tell right now, which is a me problem, is that there's a little seam for the collar in the back. So that's the only thing that is making the difference between the front and back. So I keep putting it on backwards and then realizing it's hanging weird and then needing to like do the, you know, the shuffle that you do when you put something on backwards. So I keep doing that, which is, you know, fine, I guess. No one's noticed except for me when I've worn it backwards. So that's been nice. The third sewing project I wanted to talk about is this robe that I made, and this is the Mood Fabrics fleur pattern. I don't like the French language, but I love this pattern. It is a pattern that I wanted to make well before I actually buckled down and made it. I cut out these pattern pieces so long. I think I cut them out in January, and then I actually buckled down and started making it while I was making the sweater this fall, like in September, October, November-ish. It felt so intimidating, especially like easing in a sleeve felt pretty intimidating, and then I could do it on the, now I'm trying to remember. So we had bought the fabric, and I printed out the pattern in very early this year in like February because it's freezing in the Twin Cities. I don't love it here. I was like, great, I can make us robes. So we actually went to Joann Fabrics and bought robes, thinking, or not bought robes, bought flannel for the robes, thinking that, you know, if we need more fabric, we'll just go to Joann, it'll be fine. And then Joann closed, so that entire time I hadn't touched the flannel, I hadn't touched the fabric. I had sewn around the edges and pre-washed it, and then I put it away, thinking I would get around to it at some point in the summer, and then not. Yeah, so that happened, and then I finished the shorts, and then in October beginning, I started working on the robe for myself, and I had finished most of it, and then I kind of put it on pause as I was working on the sweater. And then I came back to it and did the finishing details. Like I had built up in my head so much because it felt so stressful to work on this on my own. I'd built up how hard and how long it would take for me to make this thing, and I had kind of like mentally lost confidence in making it. And then I took this sweatshirt class, and then I came back to it, and it was so easy. All I had to do was like hem everything and make the belt and attach the belt buckles and put like patch pockets on. It was ridiculously easy. So that was like, oh wait, yeah, I can sew actually, right. So I made myself one, and I currently have on the floor here the pattern cut out for Anne's robe, and I think that one's going to be fun. If I finish it before I finish editing this video, I'll post a picture here, but if not, I'll post it to social media. We're trying to do a color blocking situation for that one with the flannel, so where it's like the body is going to be a pattern flannel and then everything else is going to be solid. So I really hope that turns out. It's like the first time I'm making a design decision. Everything else has been very like plain, flat, not the design decision is simply how short I'm going to hem it. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, those were like kind of my big sewing projects this year. The next thing I wanted to talk about was some food I made. So I don't tend to categorize food as something that like is one of my creative projects, but I got really excited about a couple things I made this year, and I wanted to talk about them. So I figured, yeah, that's stuff I made. I made food and I liked it, so why not talk about it? The first thing I made that I really liked, and I'll link the recipe down below, was this Irish soda bread. I made it for St. Patrick's Day first, and it's just like a 4-ingredient situation with like buttermilk, flour, I think baking soda, and like a little bit of salt. Like literally the world's simplest recipe. and it turned out so nicely. And Anna and I are both cheese fiends, and we especially love Irish Cashel Blue, and we also love our Kerrygold butter. So it's like we got to have the most Irish St. Patrick's Day in the world, and it was fabulous. And I've made it a couple times since then, and every time it's turned out, I just made it for a little Thanksgiving day thing, and it was really sweet and great. It's a pretty big recipe, and it's just 2 people in this little apartment, so I've been having the recipe, and even then it takes us a couple days to get through it, which is quite nice. So it's really a recipe that can take you pretty far, and it's delicious. And then the next kind of recipe thing I've made that I wanted to talk about, I am so psyched for this. I found a vegetarian mapo tofu recipe that actually is like good and tastes like the real thing. And by the real thing, I'm referring to the version of mapo tofu that is made by Han Dynasty, which is a Chinese food, a Sichuan cuisine food chain that is like on the East Coast mostly, but it has some of the best mapo tofu, and we just ask for it without the pork, and they make it great every time. And it is probably my favorite restaurant dish in the universe. I always want it. I'm always craving it. I always want the numbness in my mouth and just the spice and the numbness and the deliciousness and the silkiness of the tofu. Mapo tofu is amazing and beautiful, and if you haven't had it, I'm so sorry. I found this vegetarian recipe on YouTube, and I have followed it a couple times. You do need a few specialty ingredients for it, which is, it was fine for me because it's my favorite thing in the world, and it really, when I was watching the video, it really looked like what I wanted in terms of flavor, in terms of everything. And this replaces the pork that you usually start the dish with mushroom. It's these dried mushrooms that you can just chop up and rehydrate, and that really like packs a punch in terms of flavor and umami, which is so necessary for this dish. And it's just so good, and the instructions for this are so easy to follow. And I just ordered the more specialty ingredients like the Sichuan peppercorns and the gochugaru online, and it was fine. And yeah, it was super easy, and I made it for the Diwali this year, which was lovely because like it's one of my family's favorite dishes, and I wasn't able to go home this year, so it was like felt like I was connecting with family, even though it's kind of odd to make a Chinese Sichuan dish for an Indian religious holiday. Who cares? Who cares? It's delicious. I loved it. Make what you want on the holidays. Like, make your favorite thing on your favorite holidays, honestly. Why would you make anything else? Is my philosophy with this. But yeah, it was so good. And Anna and I made it a couple of times, and every single time it was good. And the only thing we wanted to like tweak every time was like the balance of salt and Sichuan peppercorns, which are both kind of to taste. And the first time we tried it with silken tofu, even though the chef in the video tells us not to, and we failed. So then we used like this medium firm tofu, and I just wanted a tofu that was a little bit softer. So it's like, still want to find the right tofu, but the flavors are so there and so good. Yeah, I could talk about mapo tofu for like years, so I am gonna move on. So this category is kind of like other, because I had like sewing and food. So now I have an other category, and the first thing I wanted to talk about was these little pots that I made with Anne. We went for her birthday. We went to a pottery studio and did some hand throwing. We did this year and last year, and both times we really enjoyed doing it. We really love watching Pottery Throwdown. And if you haven't watched Pottery Throwdown, it's like if Great British Bake Off didn't have Paul Hollywood and his insufferable personality and instead had someone with a lot of heart. It's that. And also the nun from Dairy Girls hosts it. So it's just like fantastic. Everyone should watch it. But yeah, we watch that all the time. We really love the idea of pottery, but obviously that's like a pretty like not necessarily expensive hobby, but it requires a lot of space, it requires time, it requires a lot of different things, like pretty high, what's it called? Effort? Barrier. Yeah, it's like a pretty high barrier to entry. So it was nice to just like go to the studio and take like this beginner class for pottery and hand throwing and make these little pots that we use all the time. I think they're so cute. I really like them. So yeah, and I wanted to also shout out in the Twin Cities, Mudluck Pottery. They're such a cool space. They're very like community oriented, and they have a lot of community days and things like that. So I wanted to shout out them. They're really cool. So another creative thing I did this year that I talk about a lot, but I feel like I show significantly less than I talk about it, is writing. I wrote a lot this year. And a lot of it was personal, a lot of it wasn't shared, but I read the first 2 or 3 chapters of The Artist's Way, and I thought a lot of it was like a lot of woo-woo hogwash. I was not a fan of The Artist's Way generally, but I really liked the idea of just like taking some time out every day to kind of turn off your brain and, you know, put the electronics away and write by hand. And I was able to fill 2 notebooks that way. I didn't write every day, and instead of like having the goal of 3 full pages, I put on like a timer for 20 minutes, put on some music, and just wrote. And that way I wrote a lot, and I made some progress on this novel I've been working for years and years and years. And I also started a new project that's been really fun to work on, and just like a nice break from this thing I've been working on for years. So that's been really nice. And the other thing that's kind of, I wouldn't necessarily categorize this as like a thing I made, but I played a lot of guitar this year. And if you are a patron, first of all, thank you. But second of all, you've definitely seen me playing guitar a little bit on Patreon. I've been posting some practice things and trying to write songs a little bit, and that's been a fun adventure. I think I've gotten pretty decent at guitar. I wouldn't call myself good just yet, but I have this little dark green acoustic guitar that's like a 3/4 travel size, and I really love it. And I really enjoy playing along with songs or trying to play songs myself. And yeah, shout out to free resources like Ultimate Guitar and Justin Guitar for like making me try guitar and having such a low barrier to entry. It's just been really fun to play around and like have a hobby that's creative, and I love music so much, so it's like allowing me to connect with music in a different way than I would have otherwise. So yeah, I'm really enjoying doing that. And then the last like category I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to talk about this last for a reason you'll see in a second, but the category is crochet. And first I wanted to talk about something I've been doing for like the last few years, which is making crochet Christmas ornaments for my friends and family. And if you are a friend or family who is seeing this, and you've received one before, look away if you don't want to be spoiled, but also who cares. To this year, we make something, and I make something different every year. And what's been happening lately is I've been crocheting like the body, and Anne has been decorating it. And this year we're doing these little wreaths, and I am pretty proud of myself. It's a super easy thing to do, but I like didn't look up a pattern beforehand. I just kind of freestyled it, and I'm pretty proud of the pattern I came up with and wrote down. So I may post the pattern on the internet at some point if you're interested, but I think these are just so precious looking. They're so sweet. And yeah, I really like them. And I think it's just the right color green, where it's not like this green of my shirt, that it still pops off a tree, which I really like. And yeah, I also love this color combination. Last year I did gingerbread men, and that was so difficult. It took me so long to like, I found a pattern online and then I didn't love it, so I was like rejiggering it to make it look nicer and rewriting the pattern, and then it took forever to make the things. So it was an ordeal, and this is just like so easy and fun to do while we're watching something. And then finally, this is like the biggest thing I think I've made all year, It is a thing I have been working on for almost 5 years, and I kind of wanted to talk about how it came to be. I have been mentioning Anne a lot in this video, and if you haven't seen kind of the Christmas specials we've been doing, Anne is my fiance, and she is someone I met over the internet, and I started making this project for her before we had met in person and decided that we were going to be together. So this was in 2021. We knew we were going to see each other in a few months, and I decided, well, Anne loves Paul McCartney. Let me make this vest that Paul McCartney wore once upon a time in the 60s, I think. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. Let me make this for her, this very good friend of mine. And then I started making granny squares and making granny squares and making granny squares, and I obviously did not finish when we met. I brought the project with me to meet her and realized that I did not make enough granny squares. I thought I was done making granny squares, and then I realized she was taller in person than I realized, so I had to make more granny squares. So I did that, and then I think that the place where I really paused and like gave up for a while was attaching all these granny squares together, because it is this lovely gray color, the borders of each granny square, and the yarn I was using to connect them was this lovely gray color, and I was so sick of it at that point, and it took so long for me to connect them, and every so often, every couple months, I would pick it up, I would do like a row or something, and then put it back down. I would put it in this, the Ziploc, yeah, I have the Ziploc bag right here. This Ziploc bag held all of the granny squares until, like, when was it, last week, when I finished it. And this little thing right here is the color combinations I had mapped out. So I have the little key here where it's like red, orange, green, blue, purple, and pink, which are the colors we've made, and every single color combination. And I had made sure that I didn't have any repeats until I had to make more, and then I had a couple of repeats for the color combinations. This was the work of someone who did not know that we were going to be engaged, did not even know we were going to be girlfriends at the time. I am insane. And this is the initial pattern, and then you can see where I had to add some length right there, which is delightful. I was like, yeah, 86 total squares. That's easy. That's not a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. It took me over 4 years. Yeah, and you cannot see the actual grid that this was on. This is grid paper, or it was once upon a time, but this is such an old piece of paper now that the grid has faded. So it used to be that like a square represented an inch. You can no longer see the squares. So that's so helpful now. But yeah, this was the little planning document I had for making this insane project. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I finally finished putting together all of the granny squares, which is just the biggest relief in the world. And I made that ribbing so quickly. I crocheted ribbing, and it was so easy, and I just sewed it together while watching the new Defunctland video, and then it was done. I sewed on the little button, and then I had to block it, which I did. I'll show a picture of that here. And then it was done, finally. It's this project I've been working on since before we were together. And then we got engaged like over a year ago. So it's been wild. And I am just so proud of myself for pushing through and finishing that project. And if you know about the sweater curse in fiber arts, I am so happy to say that does not apply to me and Anne. Because she made me a sweater ages ago. Well before that. She started and finished a sweater within that first year, and I was still working on this thing. So Yeah, it's just it was such a wild ride, and I'm so proud of myself for finishing it, but also it's just like one of those things that I'm almost like kind of sad it's over because it's been this running joke about when I would finish it for so long. Um, and it's weird that it's over. Just like this year is almost over. And this video is pretty much over as well. That was the last thing I wanted to talk about. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you can go hit the like button and the subscribe button, and you can get more videos every so often. If you are a patron, you will get videos every month. I held pretty well to that this year. And I'm also pretty proud of that. Let me know if you have anything you're particularly proud that you made this year. I'm so proud of myself for like sitting down and making this video after last year, where I was just feeling so bad about what felt like what little I did. Yeah, I'm just so looking forward to finishing up this robe. That's gonna be my next project. I'm literally going to move this setup away from this desk and put my sewing machine on top so I can finish it this weekend. And then, yeah, if you have anything you're particularly proud of that you made this year, let me know. I would love to hear about all of that. And if you have any plans to make something, or if there's a project that is just a work in progress that's been sitting in your drawer for years and years and years, let me know, because I was there. So thank you so much for watching. It was so much fun to make this video, and yeah, I guess I will see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, but like, can we have a moment for the makeup? I'm so proud of this makeup. And also this lighting is like not bad for me right now. I'm not mad about it. Look at that. I did good this time. Special thanks to Kelly Otis, Ben Birdperson, Eric Svensson, and Untapped Inkwell for being my patrons. If you would like to see more of my video work, head on over to my Patreon and check out the perks.